Hello, hello, hello. So I just finished watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always, the 30th anniversary special celebrating 30 years of Power Rangers, the franchise, as well as especially Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Of course, the very first iteration of Power Rangers. Now, I want to talk about it because I'm very conflicted. I'm very conflicted. Is it a good special? Did I enjoy it? Yes. I enjoyed what it was and I love the idea of it. I like it. I don't love it. And I wanted to speak my thoughts on it. Now, first, these are my opinions. These are not your opinions. This is how I feel. Okay? So if I say something and if I say that I don't like something, that doesn't mean, oh, that doesn't mean you have to not like it now too, and now you're gonna get upset like, oh, now I don't want to not like it, so you're wrong. That's not how this works. This is how I feel, and if you get upset that I feel this way, then something is wrong. So if you like something, tell me why you like it in the comments. That's how we have a discussion. Okay, so I'm going to feel the way I feel, whether I like something or don't like something. That's just how it is, okay? Don't feel attacked. This is just how it is, and we're going to be civilized and everything, okay? The fact that I have to explain that is very upsetting. But anyways, let me get a little bit of backstory. So I grew up as a Disney kid. Basically, I was born in 99, so the shows that I grew up with, Power Rangers-wise, were the ones that were already airing. You know, like Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic Force, Jungle Fury, Operation Overdrive. Like, those were the shows that I grew up with most because those were airing when I was growing up. Now, of course, I knew that Mighty Morphin exists. I knew that everything before Ninja Storm existed because I would watch them through clips, Morph compilations, roll calls, that kind of stuff on YouTube because that's what was available to me. I didn't have, the DVD sets or anything. And I don't really even think they were as readily accessible back then either. So, like, I knew of Mighty Morphin, I knew of Zeo, Turbo, all that kind of stuff, but I never sat down to actually watch them until years ago. And speaking of which, years ago I did get the box set. I have like the entire series, like the franchise that was released now, right? But a few years ago I did get the box set, which is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers complete series. It has seasons 1, 2, and 3, and the Alien Rangers, and I sat down and I watched it all the way through. That was my main goal. I wanted to get through all of Mighty Morphin because I had never really experienced that as a kid, And it was a very interesting watch. Season 1, I think, in my opinion, season 1 is the best season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's a season that was very primitive. You can really tell that Saban and just the production crew were really just feeling out what property they had and what they wanted to do, and they were sort of working out the kinks, and you can see that gradually happening across the episodes of the show. So I love season 1 a lot. I love the original cast. They're all wonderful. Season 2, I think, is the worst season of Mighty Morphin, mainly not even really because of Mighty Morphin, but the circumstances around what was going on behind the scenes. Walter Jones, Austin St. John, and Thuy Trang, of course, famously left the set of Mighty Morphin because they were advocating for their own rights as actors and what they should be, how they should be, paid. Like, they weren't being paid much, and they took a stand, rightfully so, and protested, and they were replaced on the show, right? And because of that, they had Saban essentially was put into a hole where they had to not only cast new actors to play the new Rangers, but work them into the script while also having the other Rangers be worked out of the script. So they would have people come in and voice over the characters that were supposed to still be there, and it left a lot of awkward holes, a lot of scenes where they would be morphed, and the 3 Rangers would just not be saying anything, but they'd be motioning as if they are saying things, and just really, it was just a mess, and it made things really awkward. And I think I skipped a few episodes because I literally could not bear it. Like, it was so upsetting, especially knowing what was going on behind the scenes and how they were treated. it was just awful. I did not like it. Season 3 was a little bit better. It got a little bit boring. There was a lot of episode tropes that were repeated. They were feeling very tired. You can tell that this is where they really should have just went ahead and switched on to a different team, because it kind of bored me. I love the second cast. I really do. I love the second cast of Mighty Morphin. But the episodes themselves did not really hit for me as well as season 1 did. I do still feel that it is a step up from season 2, but season 3 was it was all right. Now, that being said, I have been very vocal online about how Hasbro has been treating Mighty Morphin Power Rangers above the other seasons of the show, that being the other like 30-something iterations of Power Rangers over the past 30 years. They've definitely slowed the nostalgia wagon a little bit, and I'm very grateful for that. But the past couple years, Hasbro has been banking on that nostalgia with Mighty Morphin to the point where it started to get a little bit exhausting. You know, I got so sick of seeing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers everywhere, and it was a very weird thing, because Mighty Morphin is the first. It's the one that adults today recognize because that's what was around when they were kids. But when you start trying to market that to kids, and they don't really, like, the show was filmed in the 90s. It was like, there is current Power Rangers being made, and they're being promoted less than Mighty Morphin, which is very, very strange. You know, kids today have probably never seen Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but they know what the suits are. So it's like, well, what is the point? You know, it's really weird. But it got really exhausting to see Mighty Morphin, mainly just because they would be advertising the suits and, oh, look, it's the 90s, as opposed to, like, you know, the characters and who they are. But when we got the announcement that they were making a 30th anniversary special, I was immediately hooked, because it felt less as though they were pandering to Mighty Morphin. You know, hey, like dangling keys, like, look, it's Mighty Morphin, remember that? It felt less like they were doing that and more of they're actually doing something now. And it was really exciting, especially knowing that past actors that were part of Mighty Morphin are now going to be in a new Power Rangers thing officially, after years and years and years of being absent from the official Power Rangers scene. You know, David Yost, Walter Jones, that pic that they showed of Walter Jones and David Yost in the Ranger suits embracing was one of the highlights of 2022. Like, it was so amazing seeing that, and like, it exploded on the internet, right? And then, you know, knowing that Catherine Sutherland, Karen Ashley, Johnny Young Bosch, Steve Cardenas, like, everyone's coming back. The voices of Rita and Alpha, it was just amazing. And it just came out. At the time of this recording, it came out today. And I got my Lightning Collection Yellow Ranger Morpher and started watching it. And it was definitely a roller coaster. I went through a lot of emotions, from, oh, I love this, to, oh my gosh, that was serious, to, are you kidding me? And yes, this is Neo Saban. And it left me not really knowing how I truly felt about the special. I might need to let it sit a little bit, because I know that when I go to sleep tonight and I wake up in the morning, I'm probably going to feel somewhat different. But it was very strange. First of all, I started writing notes because there were things that I wanted to acknowledge and bring up in the video and get my thoughts about, because it was very strange. So firstly, I'm not going to do like a full summary of the special, because, I mean, if you're watching this, you've seen it, and I'm hoping you're just coming to hear my thoughts. So I'm not going to go through the entire thing. I'm going to go through different beats that I think stood out to me the most. This is, of course, a spoiler discussion, review, whatever. So if you have not seen Once and Always, and or have no intention of watching it, wait, you know what I mean. Anyways, this is a spoiler discussion, so there's your warning. Firstly, I want to talk about the acting. The acting is very, I don't even want, I don't even really want to say. Yeah, okay, okay. The acting is very standard Power Rangers, right? You know, I could say all day long that the acting is bad, but it's Power Rangers. So, like, the acting already, there's a history of it not being great, even through the Disney era. You know, the Disney era usually gets the most praise when it comes to the acting because a lot of the time it is good. But the acting here is, I'll say this, it's best when it's not morphed footage. And when I say that, I say that mainly when it comes to David Yost, you know, Catherine Sutherland. Like, their acting outside of the Ranger suits is pretty phenomenal. It, but when the ADR hits, it takes a dip a little bit, and it feels like there's more of a disconnect between the character and what we're seeing on screen. And it feels like you can really tell it's been a long time since they've acted in things. But again, when they're not morphed, it can be pretty, like, serious. I know there's a scene very early on where you know, Zach and Billy are in the house that Minh grew up in. Minh, of course, being Trini's daughter, and they're talking about how they're going to have to tell Minh that her mother was killed, and that conversation that Zach and Billy have is so real, and the acting is so amazing in it that it actually blew me away. You know, there's a line, I forget exactly what they said, but Zach said something like, you know, she doesn't have to know that we're Rangers. And then Billy says, you know, we're going to have to tell her that Rita killed her mom. And I audibly just went like, oh my God. Like, it's so real. And the emotion in his voice, the emotion in both of their voices is crazy. Just in that one scene. And anytime, that's the thing with this special, anytime that they're talking about Trini and reminiscing on Trini, made my heart sink because it's so real and I feel it. And I love that. Those are my favorite moments of this special because it's so, you can tell a lot of emotion was put into it, a lot of thought was put into it. And I like the way that I like the direction that they went there. There are aspects of this that I don't like, and I'll get into that. But just that in general, I think was very, very nice. I put in my notes original Ranger grunts. So, of course, you know, Jason David Frank unfortunately passed away, and I believe it was November of 2022. Austin St. John is not part of the special, I assume because of the legal battle that he's going through, unfortunately, which is still crazy. And then, of course, Amy Jo Johnson had her own reasons for not being part of the special. But their voices do still appear here very selectively. And it's very strange to me. Can someone please, in the comments, let me know what actually happened here? Because in the very first battle that we see in this special, you know, all the Rangers are there. You know, red, blue, yellow, black, green. Did I... Pink. I thought I skipped one. They're all there. And I feel like for a split second, I heard Jason David Frank's voice. And then for the rest of the fight, it's very clearly someone else dubbed over impersonating Tommy. And it's very, very strange. One, because the impersonation is not great on both Tommy and Jason. Kimberly, I think, was fine. Whoever they got to do Trini's voice was very, very spot on. I actually thought that they used archived audio of Trini, but I don't think it was. It sounded like an impersonator, but so close to where it almost got me. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did they use archive footage or audio? Like, it sounded so good. But I bring this up because there's a scene later where you know, Jason, Kimberly, Tommy, and Billy are morphing off screen, and we hear, you know, the pterodactyl, dragon Zord, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's like actually their voices. It's very clearly archived audio of the morph scene from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and you hear, you know, Austin St. John Jason David Frank, you hear Amy Jo Johnson, you hear their voices, but it's very strange because you don't. When they're fighting, it's very clearly someone else. Like they don't use archived audio of the fights and like the grunts and everything, except for Jason David Frank in a few different places. It's very like cobbled together and strange, like a mix between actual voice actor and like the actual person. I don't know. That was very strange to me, and it's so strange that I had to put it in my notes. I want to know what actually happened there. If you guys in the comments, if anyone knows, please let me know. This is a special that's meant to be fun and exciting. It's not meant for us to like dig super deep into things, even though they do explain and express the continuity errors or not continuity errors, but they do try to make things make sense throughout the special, which is really nice. But again, I wasn't asking myself too many questions while I was watching. I was just enjoying it, right? This special is very fast paced, and the fact that it's an hour, I like that it's an hour, but I also don't like that it's an hour, right? With an hour, it's essentially like almost movie length, right? You can expect like a feature film sort of like a meaty product, right? But this really did just feel like an extended episode of Power Rangers. There was nothing like cinematic about it, which I feel like works to its detriment because it was very hyped up. This special was very hyped up. Netflix was promoting it and everything. It was like, it's on the front page of Netflix, which is crazy, and I love that for Power Rangers. It was very much hyped up, and I feel like a lot of people felt as though because of that, and it also being an hour, that it was going to get like feature length production and it would be these cool camera angles and everything. It's not. It's literally the same production team that is working on Power Rangers, Dino Fury, Cosmic Fury. The same team that's been working on Power Rangers since like, Hasbro bought the show, which is also the same team from before that, like Dino Charge and stuff like that. So you're getting Neo Saban, and it didn't feel right. It didn't feel, at least to me, it didn't feel like Mighty Morphin. I feel like it was trying to capture Mighty Morphin, but it just ended up feeling like Samurai and everything throughout the last like 10 years of Power Rangers. That's what it felt like. And it was kind of a weird, it didn't feel right. I don't know, it felt kind of icky. It's very strange. And I say that because I too was expecting like this huge production, and then eventually I was like, it's just gonna be Power Rangers, which it was, and that didn't disappoint me because that's what I was expecting. But it in some ways it felt kind of worse. One thing I noticed is that there are a lot of moments where there wasn't really much of an attempt to place characters realistically in a scene. For a majority of the special, when they're not morphed, it's a almost full body shot of two characters talking to each other, just standing in the middle of the shot or standing in the middle of a room talking to each other, as opposed to having someone sitting down or having someone walking around or just like a half body shot or a camera angle pointed up at someone or a camera moving while someone's talking. Like, it's always like a static shot of just someone standing there talking to someone in the middle of the room, and it felt kind of lazy. And I feel bad saying that because I know a lot of people worked hard on this, but it almost feels kind of rushed, and I don't know if that's because they were on time constraints or just the limited amount of time that they were given for this special, because an hour is not that long a time for like a 30th anniversary special reminiscing on the franchise and capturing that old nostalgia and everything. Like, that's not too terribly long of a time, especially considering what they tried to do. Like I was mentioning, it's very fast paced. They're fighting all together as a team in the beginning, and then of course Trini is killed by Robo Rita, and right after she's killed, we cut to the house that Minh grows up in, and Billy and Zach are talking about how they're gonna have to tell Minh about how their mom was killed, and she overhears it. She starts to freak out a little bit, but we don't really get to see the extent of that because it immediately cuts to 1 year later where they're about to visit her grave. And Trini's death in this special is handled very quick, and I feel like that works to its detriment because we don't really get to see the characters grieving over the fact that their longtime teammate, because this isn't taking place in the 90s. This is taking place in 2022, and that's proven by Trini Kwan's gravestone. It says 2022, and I don't know why people thought that the very first battle that we see, like in that giant grassy area, a lot of people thought that was a time skip or whatever, like that was happening in the 90s, and then we're going to fast forward to the present day. I never believed that because we literally see them taking their helmet off, and it's like, adult age Billy and Zach. They're not like, teenagers. Like, I don't know why everyone thought that was going to be like taking place in the 90s. It's not. it's really weird. But Trini is killed, and we don't get to see them really grieving the fact that their longtime teammate and friend Yellow Ranger was killed. It feels, when they're talking about how they're going to have to tell Minh, it feels as though they're more concerned about telling this girl that her mom died as opposed to our friend literally was killed. And I don't want to say that like crying and having to show tears means that you are sorrowful for someone dying, but it moves so quickly to where it feels like I don't even have time to process the fact that they just killed Trini. It's very strange, especially considering how strong of a friendship Billy and Trini had in the show 30 years ago. Having him just be like, we're going to have to tell Minh that Robo Rita killed her mom. As opposed to like actually feeling the weight of Trini being gone. It felt a little off. It felt like, and that was another thing that they continuously are saying, Minh's mom, or like, this is your mom, as opposed to Trini. It feels as though there's a disconnect between the fact that this was an integral character to the show, and this is who we're referring to her as now, this Minh's mom. It felt really, really strange. The writing in this special is very sort of off. It's very Neo Saban. It's not great. There's a lot of times where, there will be a reference and they have to explicitly point out that it is a reference or something has to be called out. I know that there's a part where Zach is doing hip-hop keto in the juice bar, which is so sick. And Minh stands up and goes, are you... Well, first of all, Zach says, it's time for some hip-hop keto, which I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then Minh is like, are you breakdance fighting? And it's like, you don't have to say that. Like, we see it. He just said it. You don't have to point out that he's, it's things like that where it's like, I don't know who this is for. Is this for the adults watching this now to be like, wow, this is what I grew up with? Or is this for the kids that have like low attention span and don't understand what's going on as they're watching it? Because it didn't feel like Mighty Morphin. Like Mighty Morphin had moments like that, but it wasn't as rampant as this is, and it was kind of weird. I don't know. I feel really bad because I feel like I'm ragging on this special because I did like it. There's just a lot of things that stood out to me that I didn't like. Another thing being the effects. First of all, when they morph, it looked like a standard Neo Saban morph. It's like they glow and it has like the little neon lines and stuff like that, and it was cool. It's like a little insta morph. I like that. But there's a part, it happens twice actually, where they're doing like the classic morph. It's morphin' time. The lightning bolt comes down and they're in the power morpher. I think that's one of the worst morphing effects I have ever seen in this franchise, and I really wish that they did not try to recreate that. The thing is, with that morph in the 90s, it worked because of the terrible camera quality, the terrible camera quality, and also just the fact that it was sort of rough. It was very rough. It was very just sort of primitive. It was like a first time, like, this is what we're doing. We're wearing green cloaks so that, it's just our arms that you can see and we're morphing. And that's how it is. It's very classic and it's very, it's just what it is. But when you put an HD filter on everything and you see those imperfections, it makes it look a bit more cheap. And it I hate to say it, but this this morphing sequence that they recreated looks worse than anything that was made in the Neo Saban era. Samurai through Cosmic Fury or Dino Fury, I guess. Like and it happens twice. Again, it happens twice. It's not every time they morph, but it does happen twice in the special, and I did not like it at all. While we're on effects, the Megazord doesn't look good, but the Zords do. The Zords look amazing. When you see the dinosaurs, the Tyrannosaurus rising out of the was it the volcano? No, he's rising out of the cracks in the earth. And you see like the saber-toothed tiger jumping over the trees and everything, and the pterodactyl flying out of the volcano. Like, they recreated all those shots in HD and in CG, and the Zords moving look so amazing. I loved it. Everyone thought that they were toys. They did use the toys as a reference for these models, and I also thought that they were toys. Like, it looks so good. But they are CG models, and when they're moving, they look amazing. It's only until the Megazord shows up that it gets very, very bad. It was reminiscent of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. I do not believe in my heart that they were trying to reference that. But the CG of the Megazord was very bad, and I wish that, they rebuilt Alpha. They built an Alpha 5 costume, Alpha 9 costume for the special. I feel like they probably could have done something to create a Dinozord Megazord costume. They already had the monsters Snizzard and Minotaur. I don't remember. Anyway, so they have those. So if they had the Dino Megazord, I'm gonna keep saying it wrong. If they had the Dino Megazord costume, that would make it look so much better. But they really tried to make this CG Megazord work, and it didn't do it for me. The cockpit looks nice. I really like the cockpit. The cockpit looked very, very just nice and fresh and updated, and just really, really, really good. And speaking of things looking really good, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers suits have never looked this good, ever. Ever. Especially in recent media for Power Rangers. It's been a long time. I mean, we saw the Mighty Morphin Rangers in Beast Morphers, but here the suits pop. The colors are beautiful and vibrant. The texturing on the little diamonds on their arms are amazing. They even have the puffy sock neck underhoods that they had in the early seasons of Power Rangers, which is a very strange but very well welcomed callback because it looks so good on them. And it was just, also the actors look great. They all look amazing in this special, and I'm so happy that they got to be a part of an official thing again, because they deserve it. Especially David Yost, Walter Jones, Steve Cardenas was here, Ninja Steel, but Catherine Sutherland was also coming back. Karen Ashley, just the joy to see her back. Johnny Young Bosch also here. They're not here as long, but they are here, and it's wonderful. I love that they got Alpha's voice actor to come back. I love that they got Rita's voice actress to come back. Their voices are interesting. It feels like with both of them, it feels as though they're kind of trying too hard to be the character. Alpha especially. It feels like he's always straining his voice or just loudly shouting something, as opposed to how Alpha normally was, which was a lot more subdued, I think. But I love that they got them back, and they are very, very great. Minh, of course, takes the Power Morpher and becomes the Yellow Ranger later on in the special, which was really cool. I feel like that was hinted on very, very early on, and we all knew it, and in a way, it kind of felt as though the special was intentionally leading up to that. The entire thing was, she's going to morph into the Yellow Ranger, and we were sort of waiting on that. And then when it happened, it was like, oh, okay, cool. We finally did it. I love that, there's a part where Min gets knocked out while they're fighting, and she sees the memories of her mom, and they show footage of Twee Trang as part of like the Power Rangers episodes, and like a little uh, quick clip montage of Trini, and that I think was beautiful to have like right before she morphs. I love that a lot. I didn't mention that they recreated the juice bar set, so the entire juice bar is there, and it's wonderful. I love it. It's bright. It's colorful. It looks just like it did in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but just brightened up a bit. And again, it's a beautiful, beautiful set. At the end of the special, we see Min, Zach, and Billy, and they're talking about they're essentially making up. Min is apologizing to Billy for essentially saying that he's the reason that her mom died, which is so not only savage but sort of that's probably one of the rudest things I've ever heard in the Power Rangers franchise. It actually made me like I feel like I needed to leave the room when I heard it. I was like, okay, she's very upset, but they're essentially making up at the end of the special, and they're reminiscing on Trini and like the memories of her and what she went through as a ranger and all this kind of stuff. And like I said earlier, the parts where they're talking about Trini are my favorite part of the special because they feel so real. They feel so filled with heart and so respectful. I just wish we had more time to soak it in because again, the special is very fast paced. When we start talking about Trini, it's kind of brief, but you feel it, and I wish that we had more time to soak that in, because you can feel it. You can feel as though, that they really want to respect the legacy of not only the Yellow Ranger, but Twee Trang. And I love what they did with it. I just wish that we had more time to experience that. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Of course, it ended with, in memory of Jason David Frank and Twee Trang. So unfortunate. And that's the end of the special. So, yeah, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always was definitely something. I liked it. I did not love it. I feel as though, I loved the idea of it. There was a lot of things that they could have done to make it better. Using more camera angles, using, just better cinematography. The acting could have been a bit better. The writing could have been a bit better as well. But it is Power Rangers. It feels very much, again, like Neo Saban Power Rangers, which I guess is why I probably didn't enjoy it as much as I could have. I don't like the vibe and just tone of Neo Saban Power Rangers. It feels very off to me. But I did like the special. I liked it for what it was, and just having it embody the legacy of Power Rangers is a very nice thing. I love that the actors came back. I love that they put their all into this. I loved seeing them suit up again. I loved the dedication to Twee Trang, and just the legacy of Power Rangers, and for what it was, I think it's really, really nice. Will I watch it again? Probably not for a long while. I'm gonna let it simmer. I'm gonna let my opinions. I was about to say fester. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but I'm gonna sit on it a little bit, and I'm sure I'll like it a lot more, or at least a bit more, in the coming days, weeks. I don't know, but it's a very interesting special, and I definitely would say it's worth a watch. The references are really nice, and it does have some charm. It does have heart in it, and it's again, it's an interesting special, and that is all I wanted to say. I really just wanted to get my thoughts on it because I was very conflicted on how I felt about it. Let me know what you thought of the special in the comments below. What did you like? What did you not like? What did you wish would happen? What did you think was done perfectly? I would love to hear your comments. I'd love to read everything that you guys are thinking about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. Thank you for listening to my ramble. How long has it been? It's been like 37 minutes or something. I don't know. I can barely see over there at my computer. But If you enjoy this kind of content, there's a lot more in terms of tokusatsu. There's Kamen Rider videos, there's Power Rangers videos, Dino Thunder. Like, there's a bunch of stuff on the channel that you can watch that is kind of like this, but have like footage and stuff. So if you enjoy stuff like that, I'd appreciate checking that out. Thank you for boarding my rainbow line. I'll see you guys at the next stop. See you.
Andrew, Brandon, Caroline, Daisy, Donnie, Emilia, Gwen, Helen, Ian, Jake, Junior the Hedgehog, Common J, Caitlin, Matthew, Megly, Mia T. Toon, Nerdy Disney, our friend Barney, Prima Donna.
Thank you to all of my lovely patrons for boarding my rainbow line. See you.